Roz Peterson running for State House in the Burnsville-Lakeville area. Hopefully the dude who called from Lakeville is going to vote for you. Let's do a quick who are you and why are you running? Then we'll take another break. We'll come back and get more into the weeds with you. Who are you and why are you running?
Thank you, and thanks for having me here today. Again, my name is Roz Peterson, and I'm running in an open seat in House District 56B. I'm very excited to have this opportunity to talk a little bit about what I think are important, which is growing jobs at our state legislature and providing a business-friendly environment.
No, it's all about weather. What is your stance on weather?
No,
weather happens.
It may affect this show, Jack. Our 9 o'clock guest may be without power.
Whatever.
All right.
Anyhow, I am a small business owner, and I was in the drugstore business for 20 years, and I currently serve on the Lakeville Area School Board and the Minnesota School Boards Association, so I'm hoping to take that private and public sector experience to the state capitol to help foster that private sector job growth.
So you're an ideal candidate, somebody who has ties to the community, civically involved, not just some fly-by-night person who's worked on a couple campaigns and thinks they can run for office twice before they're 30?
I do think that the experience that I've had in the local units of government, including the work I've done on the big three, which is cities, counties, and schools, helped me understand a little bit more of what's happening at the local level, which directly impacts things that are happening at the state level.
Ben?
Yes.
Can you briefly explain to our listeners what payola is?
Payola is a system in radio where, back in the 70s at least, is when it got most famous. Record executives or record companies would pay DJs and radio stations to play certain songs instead of what the DJs wanted to hear, so that songs that weren't very good would become hits.
Right, and it applies to us as well. If we talk about a group or an issue, and let's say Ben and I during the day work for this issue, we need to disclose that. So we don't get our license in trouble. I think it's fair. We need to disclose that you brought in a pan of brownies.
Yes, I fully bribed you with brownies.
And without those brownies, you would not.
We appreciate when our guests bring snacks, and it
is required. And your daughter made these?
And Kayla Peterson gets all the credit. She's an excellent cook.
It's very good.
How many kids do you have?
I have 2 children. Kayla is 17. She's a senior at Lakeville South High School. And my son, Hunter, is 16, and he's a junior at Lakeville South. All
right, because we're talking about kids.
See, now you're going to have to look at photos of Jack's daughter.
Just one.
Oh, you got to love kids.
That's mine.
Oh, she's adorable.
That's right.
She's so cute.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, get more into the issue with Roz Peterson, candidate for Minnesota.
Jack shows more pictures of Hug Nugget to the candidate.
It's better than weather. 651-989-5855.
You're listening to Live and Local Late Nights on Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130 and TwinCitiesNewsTalk.com.
Like Grandma's cookies, our shows are made fresh daily.
Fresh. Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130.
Cookies.
Back in the late debate, Jack here, that's Ben. We're talking to Roz Peterson, candidate for the Minnesota House. Involved in school board, Chamber of Commerce, small business owner. You seem like the complete package. Is this an open seat?
Yes, it is. It's an open seat that was created with redistricting and basically takes up 3 other representatives' areas. Representative Pam Myra, Representative Tara Mack, and Representative Mary Liz Holberg.
Okay. Now, and your website is rozpeterson.com.
Correct.
And that's Peterson ON. Mm-hmm. And Twitter, if people want to follow you there, is at Roz Peterson. How have you been... What are you hearing from the voters on the ground? What do they care about? What do you put your chances, and what are you up against? Are the opponents putting resources against you?
Well, first I'll answer
all those questions in one sentence.
Okay, well, one sentence.
Focused on brownies, Roz.
All right, focus on the food. What I'm hearing at the door is people are hurting, and people are losing their jobs still, and it's not all peaches and roses and wonderful things that I'm hearing at the door, unfortunately. The brownies are definitely a positive part, but unfortunately I don't have enough brownies to share with 39,000 people. So that's where I think that really helping the economy grow will really help foster that private sector job growth that we're all looking for. And that's something that I also hear from the business community as a commercial realtor, that there's a lot of uncertainty in the business world. And until they feel more confident in taking a risk, it's going to be difficult for them to hire that next employee, even though they might even need that person. They're holding off right now because of the uncertainty.
Now, Ben and I have attempted to start or have started one, I guess if you count this, 2 small businesses. And so we're not experts. And the reason that our small businesses fail is that we seem to have the same 2 employees every time. But what
think we'd learn.
You would. But what we hear,
trial and error.
The talking points for coming from our side is taxes and regulation kill small businesses, and an uncertainty with how to deal with government and the changing nature of government makes taking that risk difficult. What are the realities as a small business owner in starting something, making some money, and hiring people?
Well, I think one prime example that I've heard from one of my constituents is he's a restaurant owner, and he says that his analysis is that if Obamacare does move forward as it's presented right now, it'll cost him $20,000 a month. And
whoa!
Yeah. And that just translates to jobs, because clearly you can't provide that type of health care cost that they're not paying right now and still continue to have the same number of employees. And the other thing about business taxes, it's, individuals pay taxes, not necessarily the businesses.
Right.
And so anything that's taxed at the business level will ultimately be passed on through to the consumer, which ultimately taxes the middle class.
What frustrates me is I don't think people quite get that. They look at people who own businesses as like every single one of them is some rich person who can afford to, I almost said a bad word, throw money away.
I hate to give this story. I heard it from my dad.
Are you bringing it back to weather?
This week?
I will punch you.
No. We'll have weather at the top of the hour. My dad is a small business owner. Mm-hmm. He owns a carpet and flooring, or a flooring and furniture store in Eau Claire. And he told me the story about one of his employees was going to have another kid. He wasn't married, but told my father, "You're going to need to give me a raise because of this kid." Mm-hmm. And my dad goes, "No, you're going to have to work more hours or find a second job in order to support." And the guy quit because he just didn't get a raise because of the new kid. Because my dad's some sort of evil, rich madman. Mm-hmm. My dad's not rich.
No.
I am a motel heir. My dad somehow found his way into owning a motel. One motel. I'll bring you to Eau Claire. You can see,
the motel.
The motel. You can tell my.
Well, that's what people don't understand, and it drives me absolutely up a wall that business owners can't just keep.
Well, even the employees of these small businesses don't realize what these small business owners have to deal with.
I think that the statewide business property tax is one prime example of something that a lot of people don't understand because they're not paying it. And we're only a handful of states that actually have a business-wide state property tax.
Oh, they're paying it.
They're paying
they just
it.
Don't write the
they
check.
just don't
That's
recognize
right.
it. Yeah. And that's something that has raised over $800 million for the state of Minnesota right now. And quite frankly, it's just a burden that our small business owners really can't foster right now.
So what do you want to do when you win to help out small businesses or other priorities you have?
Well, I think that you kind of hit the nail on the head with
that's what we do here.
with regulations.
Very accurate hammer.
And taxes. And I mean, just kind of lifting the shackles, so to speak, not only for our business community, but I also see it in our local school district as well. I mean, we have so many mandates and top-down mandates that are controlling our local units of government that really hinder their ability to do the best job that they can. And I think that if we can work together with the people who are closest to the issue to help them do their job better and ultimately probably just be able to lower the costs of providing those services too, if they're able to do it more efficiently and smarter.
Here's the thing. If you talk to a lefty activist, and they don't have to be crazy lefty, it just seems like most DFL activists, when you say we want to lower regulations and lower taxes.
Simplify regulations.
Sure. They immediately go to, well, don't you enjoy having roads? It's like we're not saying we're going to cut.
You want the Wild West where everyone can do whatever they want,
right. But it is certainly possible to decrease the restrictions on business owners and citizens and not suddenly descend into anarchy.
I agree with that.
Way to take a bold stance, Roz. Bold stance.
Well, I think that our tax system is extremely complicated. I mean, Commissioner Myron Franz is running around all over the state of Minnesota explaining how complicated our tax system is. Mm-hmm. And, maybe that's one place to start is how we can reform our tax system, so to speak, and by just making it less complicated. Absolutely.
It shouldn't be difficult to do your taxes.
No, and this is what I
again, a lot of bold stances on tonight's show.
We can get into the arguments about what you should do with the tax code, but if you want people to pay their taxes,
make it simple.
Make it simple. I'm sure a lot of people don't want to deal with the taxes simply because it's incredibly intimidating.
And that's hindering businesses starting too.
Yeah.
The regulations that they have to just to be able to start a business are.
We've talked to people who've made millions of dollars and said, well, I wouldn't start a business now.
Howard Root with Vascular Solutions.
That's right. They know what it takes to build a business. And seeing the environment we have right now in this state, they wouldn't start a business now.
I was working with a vein clinic guy that is developing a manufacturing device, or a medical device. In India. He didn't even try to start it here because he's like, it's just too difficult.
Absolutely.
So we'll start it in India. So those are jobs that they never even started here and moved. They just never, they started in India instead.
I don't know which department, probably Department of Labor, or it might be Department of Revenue. Probably Department of Revenue makes the How to Start a Small Business book in Minnesota.
Okay.
It's 1.5 inches thick.
Oh, jeez.
And every time I've got an idea. I grab that book. I'm like, nah.
Thud.
So once Hug Nugget gets to the age where she wants to have a lemonade stand,
you're gonna.
I'm gonna videotape. Like, here's the book. Get to it.
Well, don't stop. I mean, don't do that to her. Come on.
Look, she needs to understand
character.
how being miserable builds character. That's science. But if I need to get her on the right path politically, she needs to understand what side of growth that the government is on. Now, we've had Speaker Zellers on a handful of times, and one of the things that we've talked about is updating the technology in government. And a lot of these ideas are...
they still use punch cards.
Right. Representative Keith Downey's ideas, and hopefully Senator Keith Downey. But from us to you, if you can help, because you are young as well, if you can help get government moving along as far as technology goes, because then they'll need... less money and less people to do the same job.
There's no question about it. They really could utilize some infrastructure help with their technology and streamlining just how they do business. It's prevalent across the board, at least from my standpoint. Even from parking at the Capitol, it's wow.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're still doing literal paperwork,
right?
That should, I don't understand it. There seems to be any large corporation or government entity. There's this want to not innovate. We are familiar with this, so we're going to keep doing this. Change is bad because it's different, and we're not used to different.
Right.
And so, that's the one thing I think that could save government a lot of money is just innovate.
Absolutely.
Right. But fostering an environment that allows for innovation. And, I don't think that culture exists as much as it could to really move us forward.
Agreed. A friend of mine who has some knowledge about your race says that you are up against it. What groups have targeted you? I know you don't want to talk about it because you don't want to be the victim.
Well, from my standpoint, I'm management. I'm on the Minnesota School Boards Association. My opponent is a teacher, and so he's got a lot of the union people behind him.
Well, your opponent is a true hero then.
And the people who support me are more the business community, the small business owner, and the working person who really just wants to get a better job than they are today and move forward from that standpoint. So I feel like I represent the community.
Are you tearing Minnesota apart?
No.
Because when I ran in 2006, Education Minnesota said that I was tearing Minnesota apart. And I'm just wondering if they've changed their tactics at all.
It's amazing what people will say about candidates.
Indeed. So, with an education background, is education reform something you've got an interest in?
Absolutely. And that's from my work with the Minnesota School Boards Association. We have a full list of things that we would love to get done.
Outstanding. All right, Roz, thanks for joining us tonight. Folks, go to her website, rozpeterson.com.